This is the worst restaurant to ever appear on Kitchen Nightmares.
My dad took $250,000 of my money. Killing me, man! You're fucking killing me!
Where's my paycheck? I know that.
Stand up for your wife of 35 years!
I am standing up for you.
Hello, you gorgeous donuts. Kitchen Nightmares is a TV show hosted by celebrity chef Gordon Ramsay. He visits severely struggling restaurants that are on the brink of going out of business, and he attempts to make them a successful restaurant. However, that proves to be difficult because there's a reason why these restaurants are massively failing, whether that be because they're in so much debt, whether it's because the food's terrible, whether it's because the owners are so insane that they just don't listen to anybody. And in this specific episode we're going to be breaking down today, in my opinion, these are the craziest owners that we've ever seen on the show. I guarantee that you're going to hate these people in the first part of this video. And because these owners have created so much drama, this specific episode is one of the unique Kitchen Nightmares episodes that has to be split into two parts because there's so much drama. From the terrible owners to the terrible food to the terrible chef, we're going to cover everything in this episode and see if Gordon can actually turn this business around. And I just want to let you know there is one specific moment in this video later on when I watched this for the first time. It made me break down in tears, so stay tuned for that. So the episode begins telling us that Alan and Jen Saffron opened up a restaurant called the Burger Kitchen in 2010 in Los Angeles. We find out that the reason they opened this restaurant was because Alan has tried a lot of meat.
Alan's always had the dream to run a restaurant because he's always enjoyed meat.
I've really eaten meat all my life. I've eaten in hundreds of different steak restaurants.
Sorry, that's such a funny reason to start your own restaurant. That's like me going, well, you know, I've ate a lot of toast. Maybe I should just start my own toast restaurant, right? I've ate a lot of it. Surely I know what's the best. You've got to spread it with Utley Butley instead of Flora every single time and 2 times on a Sunday. Alan originally didn't have the money to open up his own restaurant, so he actually stole it from his son.
I was kind of dragged into this. I got a sizable inheritance from my grandfather, and my dad took $250,000 of my money to put it into this restaurant.
Sorry. If that was me, my dad would never hear from me again. What do you mean? He just took it out the trust fund. £250,000 without my consent? Are you kidding me? That's got to be one of the worst parent moves I've ever seen. That's not your money. Like, he inherited this apparently from his grandfather. Like, that money belongs to your son, not you. I don't care if you helped to bring him into this world. Also, at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you what the grandfather's job was because genuinely, you won't believe it. It's so disturbing. Imagine how this would actually make you feel. Like, you would never be able to trust your parents ever again. Because of this, Daniel now has to work in the restaurant 24/7 to try and make it a success, otherwise he's not going to have any money. But he says that his dad is running this place into the ground because he doesn't know how to manage a restaurant. This is genuinely horrific. Do you know if you were like a Michelin star chef or just somebody where you could guarantee the success of a business, even then there's a huge risk that it'll not come off. When you're just someone that likes the taste of meat and then using all of your son's inheritance to try and make that into a restaurant, that is crazy work. We then learn that all of the burgers are frozen and imported from Australia because that's originally where Alan is from, and both the staff and the chefs hate the food. Head chef David says it's unbearable working for both Alan and Jen, and Marilyn, the waitress, also says the same.
Hard to be belittled every day, and so for me to come to work now is like almost unbearable.
Like, how do you expect the food to be good in your own business when the chef hates coming to work? Like, he's gonna have no motivation to go the extra yard to make the food better. And you're gonna see later in this video why the chef just doesn't care about the food in this place. It's always the same thing with these owners. They just treat everyone terribly and then expect to be treated unbelievable in return. It just doesn't work. What did it say in the Bible? Treat people how you want to be treated. How about you implement some of their rules, love? Someone put that on a t-shirt, right? Put my name under it as well, not Jesus. He fell off. David then opens up about how his father Alan just treats him with zero respect.
He does not treat me as an equal partner. He still treats me like a child. It's very infuriating. Please, help me, please. I am absolutely at the end of my rope.
Sorry, imagine your dad, like, stealing £250,000 from you and then belittling you in the process every single day. How have you not just, like, how have you not just slapped an egg on this man's face, right? Call us old-fashioned guys, but doesn't that sort out everything? Trust us, there's a couple of people I've had to leave with egg on their face, and they weren't too happy about it. I got my own back on them that day. But you can clearly see that this entire family unit is so stressed, and they all kind of hate each other, and in the process, the staff now hate them, and this entire working environment is just built upon hate. Gordon then arrives at the restaurant for the first time and meets both Alan and Jen. Alan tells Gordon that they've only been open for 16 months, and every single month they're losing around £5,000 to £6,000. Well, actually, Daniel is losing £5,000 to £6,000. Genuinely, you might as well have just got the $250,000 and just threw it off a cliff. Just £6,000 every month, because that would be more use and you'd be less stressed in the process. Alan then tells Gordon some of the reasons he believes the business is failing.
I think it was a combination of a lot of things that I think we did wrong. I think we changed the menu too many times.
How many times have we changed the menu?
Probably 10.
10 times in like 16 months. What? That's insane. How do the chefs know what they're cooking? Is it just like a mystery box every single day? Mental.
What about the chef? How many chefs
We've
have
had
you had?
about 10, 20 servers.
Sometimes it's hard to have sympathy for these people at the start, because when they come out with numbers like that, the only constant variable is themselves. So I don't know how they don't figure out that maybe they're the problem. Like, they're going through this many chefs, this many waiting staff, and this many menus. The only thing that is staying when it's failing is you guys. Surely you need to kind of eradicate yourselves from the situation here, or just give yourselves a good long look in the mirror. If 10 chefs have failed, I don't believe that it's the chef's fault at that point. Alan then says another reason the business is failing is because he has a conspiracy that the Yelp reviewers are plotting against him.
Yelp has trashed us terribly. They're also deleting 5-star reviews.
Is there a plot against you to close this business?
No question in my mind.
Why? What, do you think, like, the Yelp reviewers are like, oh my god, we've just got to take this burger restaurant off the market, it's going to ruin everything. You sell burgers, not firearms. Why would they be plotting against you? For what reason? We've literally seen that you serve people raw meat. Do you not think that's got something to do with it? Like, you're blaming everyone. You're blaming the reviewers. You're blaming the chefs. You're blaming the waiting staff. You're blaming the menus. It's you. Surely, you've got to figure out it's you. He's going to be blaming his dog next. To be fair, some of these burgers, I don't even think the dog would eat it. So he probably would have a good case against the dog. Dog's definitely giving it a 1 star on Yelp. We then learn a little bit more about how Alan stole the £250,000 from his son Daniel.
I was managing his money.
So you then invested in the business?
Yes.
Did your son Daniel know?
Well, of course, he knew eventually.
Sorry, what? He knew eventually. So he didn't know. You just took it, and then you were like, well, I'll just tell him later when he asks for it. And I'm like, well, you're looking at it. It's in these frozen burgers, son. This is crazy. Like, they're going to have to make the money back somehow. They're going to have to, do like a Breaking Bad and start a meth business. One of the biggest things in family and also in business is you have to trust the people that you work with, or you have to trust your family members. How is this restaurant ever going to be a success when Daniel can never trust his parents again? The fact that Alan said he was looking after the money for him as if he was like some sort of Forex trader and putting it into stocks or something. You literally were just using the money for your own gain. Like, how are you ever going to expect to make that money back within 16 months? Like, you've never run a restaurant before. It's just so clueless and selfish from his dad. Alan then says that him and Daniel can't work a shift together because Daniel hates him. I wonder why.
My son has a great deal of resentment towards me, and I don't know why.
Yeah, you've got a point there, to be fair. There's nothing really you've done that... You stole £250,000 from him, fella! You wonder why? It's right in front of you! It's fucking there! Oh, yeah, I just don't know why. Why do these people start businesses? Like, they're clearly, they just can't see things from other people's point of views, which is like the main thing you need to do when you start a business, especially when you work in the consumer trade and you're serving customers. All you need to do is think from their point of view and what they like. Gordon then sits down to try the food, and the server, Marilyn, says that she wants to pre-warn him because every single shift that she does, she has to apologise to at least 15 tables because of how bad the food is. Imagine turning up to that job every single day, though. You would just dread it every single day, because a lot of people who don't really understand how a restaurant works just blame the servers. Like, the servers get the brunt of all of the hate when they're not even cooking the food. All they're doing is passing the food from the kitchen to the table, and they're the ones that get all of the shit for it. Straight away after Gordon orders the food, you can kind of see how chaotic this kitchen actually is. There's only one customer in, and they're losing their shit.
13 said their burgers were good.
Lena, Yes. Anything you have to say, go through me.
I love that. What is this, like Chinese whispers, right? Okay, love. Did you hear that? Yeah, did you change it on the way? Did you? You better not have. All right, she said lettuce. All right, she didn't want anything else on that burger.
Chef David does not like me, and he tends to gossip and blame me for a lot that's going on.
Now, obviously, like, they've been through a lot of chefs, so at this point in the show, you're kind of shifting all of the blame to the owners. But later in this video, I feel like you're going to feel more sorry for Jen than you do for the head chef. It's kind of funny calling her the devil because everyone, like, has had that job where they just hate the boss and they call them every name under the sun. But I feel like your opinion on the head chef's going to change. Regarding the head chef, one thing Gordon comments on, which I noticed straight away, is on the little menu, it says that the head chef is called David Blaine. Now, I thought that was the magician, so I was thinking, oh my god, this food's going to be incredible. It's going to be absolutely magical, right? It's going to be like a Harry Potter feast. However, observing how unhappy David is working here, I genuinely think you'd rather be David Blaine. Pulling like random pieces of string out of your belly button seems less painful than working here. The first burger then arrives at Gordon's table. Oh, it's got sweet corn in it. I'm gone. I don't care if the meat's raw, it's got sweet corn in it. I'd rather die. I'd rather be buried alive like David Blaine than have sweet corn enter my holes. That's a weird way to say it. Sweet corn up your bum, surely that's not... Anyway, how did I get onto that? Gordon says it's one of the worst burgers that he's ever tried in his life. He says it's tasteless, like there's zero seasoning in it. However, Alan disagrees.
Bland, tasteless, raw meat, no flavour.
So he doesn't like it.
One of the best burgers I've ever tasted in my life.
Why did these people invite Gordon Ramsay to their restaurants and then he criticises the food and then they just argue with him? It's like, well, why is your business not a success then if the food's so great? Surely the food is terrible. How do you not realise this? Like, none of them realise. Also, you've seen Kitchen Nightmares. You know if Gordon Ramsay's coming through your door, your restaurant's pretty drastic. The fact he thinks there's a storyline there where he brings multiple production staff to film it, it's gotta be pretty dire. Gordon then tries their award-winning burger, but it comes out completely raw.
Natural with white cheddar.
Oh, this is award-winning.
Yeah.
What makes it award-winning? This just reminds us of, you know, that scene in Elf when he walks into the coffee shop and he's like, congratulations, you've got the world's best cup of coffee. And it's just terrible. Do people just put awards on things just to make it sound good? Like, what award has this won, realistically? The rawest burger to ever be served on a plate? Because the award is not specified here. That could possibly be the medal it won. Wow. Mate, look at that, man. Christ, that looks like something out of the Last of Us series. Looks like something you've got to be quiet around, otherwise it's going to eat you.
It's just raw.
It is raw.
It's raw, or what you could say is it's fucking raw! Sorry, just had to get that in there. Apologies. It's interesting because the head chef, David, has said that everything wrong with this restaurant is down to the owners. And so far, I can kind of believe him. However, he is also contributing to the restaurant's demise because even though he said that he can't put his own stamp on the menu, he has to cook it exactly how Alan wants. Food coming out raw is still your responsibility and it's still down to you to make sure that the food is cooked how it's meant to be. Gordon then tries the cowboy burger and I don't actually think I've seen a burger bigger than this in my entire life.
I'm terrified to bring out this burger. I don't even...
Jeez!
Here is the cowboy burger.
Mate. Genuinely, if you threw that at someone, you could kill someone. What? Is that the entire cow? That's not even one cow. That's like a family of cows. Not even a family. That's like about 3 or 4 generations of the same family of cows. Really? Seriously? Genuinely, like if this fell on the floor and wasn't picked up, you'd have to register it as a mine. It looks like a bomb. This looks bigger than what babies do when they come out of the womb. And then there's just like one tomato on it and a piece of onion. Like, it just looks like earrings compared to this. It doesn't even look like tuppence. Obviously, Gordon hates it, and somehow after this, they even serve something worse when they serve their Australian beef pie. And at this point, you can tell that everyone in this restaurant is kind of just blaming each other. Like, Jen is blaming everything on Chef David.
I believe Chef David can't handle the menu. He's a pastry chef.
Well, why did you employ him then? If he's used to cooking pastries, why are you making him cook an entire cow in a burger? Surely you've got to take some responsibility here, love. Gordon then doesn't hold back when he meets Chef David for the first time.
David Blaine, right? The magician. This is
Jalapeno.
jalapeno. That was fucking hideous. Everything I've tasted has been nasty, awful, bland.
I love that he just doesn't hold back. He's just like, you utter gosh, get out. Can't believe that you're even a real human being. Also, the assistant head chef is called Jalapeno. Like, that man has more spice in his name than was in that burger. That's when you know you've got an issue. Chef David then hits back and says it's all the owner's fault, and even says Alan is an alcoholic.
Drinking again.
Drinking again.
My husband doesn't drink.
I can't get the truth out of anybody here.
Like, that's such a cheap shot. Like, oh yeah, well, you've been drinking again. Like, it seems like everything is very toxic here. Like, they're all trying to one-up each other, especially when the camera's there. Like, I feel like it changes everything because they're trying to expose each other, like, in front of everyone else. Chef David then says the reason why everything is failing is because he can't put his own stamp on things and he's not actually getting paid for the work that he's doing.
I come in here, and I work, I open the place, I do what I'm supposed to, and I don't get paid. Where's my paycheck?
The audacity of these owners to complain about the level of the food and complain that the chefs don't care when they don't even get their paycheck on time. Like, how can you be so just in your own ego that these people should work for free for you? How do you expect people to be motivated when, you know, they're trying to do their best and they don't even know if they're going to be able to pay their bills at the end of the month? Like, you're not going to attract anyone that is, like, passionate about their craft if this is how you, like, kind of run your business. And it's also illegal. Like, if you've said in a contract this is what you pay people and then you don't even pay them, like, it's just mind-boggling. Because Chef David keeps blaming both Alan and Jen for the quality of the food, saying that he can't put his own stamp on things because he has to cook it exactly how they like it, Gordon sets him and his assistant chef Jalapeno a task where they have to go out and buy some meat and make a burger exactly how they want to make it to kind of judge the quality of his cooking skills. But before we get to see what they produce, Jen then kicks off with Alan after everyone is kind of dispersed.
You heard how he attacked me.
I know that.
Stand up for your wife of 35 years.
Now, this is a really difficult one because if you're Jen, you'd want your husband to stick up for you in public no matter what, and then you can kind of talk about it in private, like what you actually think. However, Jen in that entire argument was in the wrong. Like, she was trying to prove that actually she had paid David when in reality she hadn't. And then she started going on about mushrooms and it had no real relevancy to anything. Like, she was just trying to one-up David. And Gordon was kind of calling her out on it, so it was kind of hard for Alan to kind of like stick up for her, but I still feel like he should have done it in public because you can see that she feels so isolated in this business. But one thing I have noted is both Jen and Alan just base like their decisions just off straight emotion. There's no logic in any of their decisions, and the one thing you need when you run the business is logical thinking. Like, you can't base something off just how you feel emotionally because it's never going to end up well in the long term. Whilst the chefs cook their burger for Gordon, Gordon actually goes and visits Daniel at his home to just learn a little bit more about his relationship with his parents.
My dad, in all his wisdom and the way he can just manipulate, said, why don't we open a restaurant? And I said, well, that's a little ridiculous. You know, we know nothing about it. Let's not do that.
So we now learn that Daniel actually said, no, I don't want to do that. And he still went ahead and did it. So he did actually come to him and he said no, and then he just did it anyway. That's even more evil.
I was infuriated. Why did you do this? You know, without even my approval. And he's like, I thought you'd like it. Are you kidding me?
I thought you'd like it. What? No, I just want the money. In what world would he want £250,000 of his own money to be invested into a burger restaurant when he's specifically said he doesn't want to do that? Oh my God, this is actually getting me annoyed.
I can't get even on the books. I'm not even on the records.
So the fact he's not even on, you know, the American company's house is wild. Like, his dad has basically stole this money from him. This isn't a joint venture. He's not allowed to make any decisions. He's just allowed to be an employee there. So basically his dad's just used him for his money, basically. And imagine how that would just change your dynamic with your dad, because he's like, you know, with your mum and dad, like, those are the people you're meant to look to. Like, you know, if you're going to trust anyone in this world, you'd hope you could trust your mum and your dad. And they've clearly just went behind his back and manipulated him here. Like, can you imagine what that would actually do to someone? He must feel so isolated, and I'm just so happy that he's got his girlfriend Wendy to support him, because imagine if he was alone. Like, genuinely, this man would be feeling so sad right now. Meanwhile, Chef David is finna finishing off the burger for Gordon. And you can see here that Alan's ego kind of can't take that Chef David could possibly impress Gordon here. So he jumps into the kitchen to make his own version of the burger he thinks Gordon wants.
You want something with flavor, not frozen meat.
Like, Alan, what are you trying to achieve here? Like, let's say that Gordon prefers your burger. Then we're back to square one. Then it's like, okay, well, we don't need to change the food. Everything's perfect here. I'll just leave. And then you get no help. Like, what are you, apart from trying to not let your ego take a hit here, what else are you trying to achieve? Literally nothing. Gordon then walks in, and before Chef David can hand him his burger, Alan straight away gets in the way and says, Gordon, do you not want to try mine?
I just made a burger. My ingredient. You want to try it? Some people have called me a meat sculptor or a meat creator. A lot of different celebrities have eaten my food and have said it was fantastic.
Oh, well, that's all right then. Right, guess you don't need Gordon's help then. What does that mean? So if I open a restaurant and it's failing, but somebody from Coronation Street eats it and they like it, then I'm like, oh, well, the person from Coronation Street likes it, so you've got no excuse. It doesn't matter. Celebrities don't matter. It doesn't matter how many followers they have. If your food's bad, it's bad. Oh, I'm getting so into this. And what do you mean people call you a meat creator? I don't even know what that means. What does that even mean? Are you shagging the animals yourself and then bringing meat into the world? That's the only thing I can kind of assume you're saying here. What is a meat creator? I guess we're all meat creators if we have children. What was the other word he called himself?
A meat sculptor.
A meat sculptor? Again, I think that one's actually worse. Imagine, like, you're going on a double date and your wife goes, oh, here's Alan. He likes to call himself the meat sculptor. What the fuck does that mean? So basically, you can just, like, shaped mince meat into the form of a burger. That's pretty impressive, man. Honestly, I feel like we should just make you head chef at this point. Just quickly, Donuts, if you haven't already, please do consider pressing the subscribe button. We're closing in on 500,000 subscribers, which is mental. So if you want to join this community and be in the before a 500,000 club, part of the Donuts, press subscribe now. You'll have plenty of videos like this to binge watch when you're bored. Do it!
I made a cheeseburger. I don't like a bun.
This must be so infuriating for Chef David, because this is somebody that obviously, you know, has worked at their craft for a very long time, and you're getting someone that has never, like, worked as hard as you have to, you know, achieve the skills you've got, trying to one-up you. It just must be so infuriating. It's like this guy's mansplaining his craft to him. Do you know what I mean? Have you ever had that where you know so much about a topic and then someone who knows nothing is kind of trying to explain it to you as if you're dumb about it? It's just so infuriating.
That is hideous. This is the burger I'm dying for. David, please.
You'd use the word hideous, would you? Well, that's not what Sally of Coronation Street said. She said quite the opposite, and I'm gonna go with her opinion because she knows David Platt. Thank you very much. Gordon then tries Chef David's burger, and his response is actually really surprising.
What I had earlier, this looks night and day. It's delicious.
Thank you, Chef.
The roll, it's crispy.
Look on Alan and Jen's face there. Genuinely, I don't think they would have had a worse look if Gordon had came in and said David's dead. Jen then tries the food, and you can just see she's trying to, like, not like it on purpose.
What is that strong taste that I'm tasting?
That'll be the burger, love, right? I know you're not used to tasting something that tastes like a burger, but this is what we in the business call beef. Don't know if the meat sculptor's going to agree with it, but hey-ho. You can just tell that both their egos won't let them compliment David.
It's bloody juicy.
Suck on this burger, Jen. And you too, Alan.
This must be just so satisfying for Chef David. I'm kind of happy for him at this moment. However, I'm interested to see if your opinion on him changes later in this video. Gordon then asks David, like, if you can cook like this, why don't you make burgers this quality all the time? And he basically just says the same point, that he's not allowed to. And then Jen kind of just plays the victim card.
He wants to blame me for everything in the kitchen, and I'm not that powerful, Chef Ramsay.
I mean, you can't, like, play the victim card as like, oh, well, I don't make any decisions here. You can't, like, put this towards me. Like, you have literally just said about his food that it wasn't cooked right. And this is the one where he's meant to cook it how he wants it. So God imagines what it's like when it's meant to be cooked how you want it. At this point, they're just taking zero responsibility for the failing of this business, even though David is the 10th chef they've employed in 16 months. So surely he's not the reason that this business is failing. Jen then gets really angry and storms off.
This is ridiculous.
Like, nothing actually happened there. She just stormed off because Gordon complimented the burger that David had cooked. Like, this is how a child would act when you know, they lose a competition or something. You know what I mean? Even a child wouldn't really react like that. It's so odd behaviour from an adult, especially an adult who owns a business. Jen then says that she's a victim of an abusive working relationship with David.
I'm facing a bully who has been abusive to me.
We need to address this, but just for you to get up and walk out, it just looks a little bit weird.
Now, Gordon's kind of handled that perfectly because this is like a really serious thing that she's brought up. She feels like she's getting bullied and she feels like, you know, she's been targeted a little bit. Now, I've said that she was kind of playing the victim card before and I still stand by that point, but this is still a woman that is really upset. So even if you think she's been a manipulator here, like, she clearly feels isolated, and we've seen before that Alan doesn't back her up in arguments. Like, she feels really alone in this business. And for this restaurant to work, and if Gordon is going to turn this restaurant around, which I don't know if he can at this point, he needs everyone working together and nobody to be isolated. Gordon then says that he wants to observe a normal service at the restaurant without him really involving himself, but before the service starts, Alan actually hands him his own book that he wrote.
I'd like to give you my book.
You got your own cookbook?
I wrote a book.
You wrote a book?
Yeah.
Sorry. Genuinely, if I was Gordon at this point, I'm walking out. This guy's wrote a book where the main word is Satan. This is where I'd probably be like, you know what? I'm just going to let you handle this. Right, I know your burgers are kind of raw, but I just don't want to really involve myself here. I'll see you later, Alan. Give Daniel my regards. Alan says that the book is about his toxic relationship with his father, which is really interesting because we're basically seeing Alan being very toxic towards his son, so there's a lot of similarities here. At the end of this video, I'm going to talk about who his dad is because genuinely, I feel so sorry for Alan that he's had to grow up in this environment.
I said, Dad, I don't want to be in the business.
You want to be controlled, right?
I didn't want to be controlled. To think that a father would do that to his own son is beyond shocking.
Now, what he's just said there's so interesting because all of the things he's literally accused his dad of, he's done to Daniel. Like, he stabbed Daniel in the back. He's done stuff to Daniel that Daniel didn't want him to do. He's making Daniel work in his business when Daniel doesn't want to do that. Daniel's also got this lovely girlfriend who he despises like his dad despises. It's just interesting how he hasn't broke the cycle of this relationship and he's kind of made this happen in the next generation of his life as well, especially when Gordon's asked him, like, do you love your dad? And he couldn't give him a straight answer. Like, if Daniel was asked the same thing, I imagine his answer would be the same. So it's really hard to see how Alan can't see that he's being exactly what his dad was and making Daniel feel exactly how he feels, because if this was made clear to him, he would stop treating Daniel the way he is. Later in this video, Gordon does bring the book back up and shows Alan exactly how he's demonstrating the same behaviours as his dad, so stay tuned for that. But I just don't see how Gordon is going to turn this restaurant around because this restaurant just seems so dire and the worst is still to come. Now, for this particular service, Daniel is going to be working with his parents just so he can kind of observe the dynamic here. And straight away, we learn how valuable each member of the business is to making this a success. Daniel says that he hates his dad working there because he literally, all he does is just interrupts the customers and he has terrible stinky breath.
That beer is rated in the top 10 in California by the leading beer editor. Excellent beer.
Oh, I hate this. See, this is my idea of a nightmare. Like, in a restaurant, like, obviously I want the waiting staff to be really friendly with you, but once, like, you've, you know, give us me food and then you ask us how it is, like, you know, 10 minutes, 5 minutes later, that's as much involvement. I don't want you, like, chiming in the conversation. Like, I don't want you flirting with us or flirting with me, girl. Just leave where to be. Okay, we've come out, this is our one date night. Just let me flirt with each other. I don't want to hear about where the beers came from. Unless you're talking about your meat sculpting, then I am all ears, okay, Alan?
He walks around with bad breath, and I know for a fact, I've seen it, some of the customers, when he starts talking, they lean back.
Every beer...
Oh my god, that is... At least you know if you've got like an arsehole customer, you can just be like, was everything okay? Was it? And then, you know, it's like poison ivy, you just instantly kill them. Can somebody not give them like an airways or something, just a little bit of chewing gum to kind of chew to fix it a little bit? People have got to walk around like they're in a quiet place, like wrapping their mouth up mid-chew. Daniel then says to his dad, like, can you please just go back to the bar and stop interrupting the customers? And Alan's ego can't take this, so he pulls Daniel into his office, which is basically just where the fridges are.
Mind if I see you in my office? All I did was greet people.
That's fine.
I didn't do anything else.
I love that he said, will you come into the office? But it's literally just where the fridges are. That is hilarious. I love that. It's so David Brent coded. I'm here for it. Now, despite all of this going on, food is leaving the kitchen. However, most of the customers are sending their food back because it's raw. Another huge issue is the ticketing system. Orders are getting messed up and orders are getting lost, and this leads to so much confusion and anger, and Daniel and head chef David actually go back and forth, kind of going for each other.
I'm talking about your ticket system.
Let me run it. I can run it then.
You want to run
Yes.
it, boy?
A trained monkey could take tickets and get them out on time.
Hey, you leave Robbie Williams out of this. Okay, I know he was great in that movie, but he doesn't know anything about running a kitchen.
I'm gonna jump over the side of this thing and knock your ass out if you don't stop it.
You want to threaten me? Get the fuck out right now.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely, what is going on here? Like, this is like a Royal Rumble. I feel like I'm watching like Hell in a Cell. Why are they threatening to knock each other out? Because one of them thought it said table 42 and the other one thought it said table 2. How did the chef not know that that wasn't 42? This is where the stress of this episode ramps up even more, as Daniel just says to head chef David that he's sacked on the spot.
I just cracked. I cracked.
Now, obviously, everyone's acting really emotionally here, and this is like a high-pressured situation. However, one thing that you've always got to take note of is how the producers kind of angle things. Like, the way the narrator speaks tells me that the entire production team didn't really like the head chef because they're saying that he's targeting different people to kind of bully in a way. Like, the narrator wouldn't say that if they haven't had like a better scope on the entire episode and they've seen everything unlike us. Now, I do have huge sympathy for the head chef David because he's not getting paid for the work he's doing. So obviously you're not going to really respect your bosses because they're not even paying you for the work that you're doing. I totally get that and I'm totally on his side with that. However, he really contributes to the negative environment that is going on here. Earlier in this episode, he basically said to Jen that she needs to go on Prozac because she's so depressed, which is like, you know, a really horrible thing to say to someone. He's then called Daniel a crackhead.
But I'm not gonna have some crackhead yell at me.
He constantly like undermines the owners and he's like he creates like a really toxic environment in my opinion. Again, he's well within his rights to slag them off because he's not getting paid. But I just don't think that their relationship, like the relationship between head chef and the owners, can be salvaged at this point. I just think they need to cut ties and pay him his money that he's due and try and find their 11th head chef. Also, whilst all of this is going on, all of the customers are leaving the restaurant without paying for their meals, so they're basically just throwing money down the drain here. Chef David then returns to the restaurant, but not to cook, but to claim the money that he deserves for being laid off.
Hey, Jen, you fired me. I need a $1,000 paycheck right now. California law states that you pay me before you fire me. Just write my check.
Now again, I'm kind of like between like a rock and a hard place here because obviously he needs his money, but it's the middle of service. So like, does David not have any respect for like his fellow staff members, his fellow kitchen staff who are still trying to, you know, kind of get food out here? But also, he hasn't been paid previously, so he doesn't know if like he's going to be paid again. So I get why he's demanding his money, but it's just such a weird, like this whole environment is just so toxic. I don't even believe Jen knew that he'd been sacked at this point. Like, it wasn't her that sacked him. Chef David keeps like targeting Jen. Like, he says that his beef isn't with Daniel, even though Daniel was the one he threatened to knock out and then Daniel sacked him. And he also says his beef isn't with Alan. It's just weird that he's targeting Jen so much.
I also gave you $15 in
Oh, would you like
change.
some? Well, then take $15 out minus 20 for your Prozac.
Like, he keeps saying this Prozac line, and I really don't like it. Like, if you don't know what Prozac is, it's basically medicine that it basically promotes serotonin to your brain so you feel happier when you're going through a bad time. It just helps balance you out in your brain, and the fact he keeps using this against Jen is like such a low blow, but I think it's the effect of how these people have made him feel. Now, I haven't seen Jen or Alan be like so personal towards him like he has been to them. That's why I think the producers are kind of angling it as if he is the bad guy here. It just has nothing to do with work or has nothing to do with him getting paid. He's just trying to attack Jen. And now I'm starting to see why Jen said to Gordon that she feels like she's being bullied, because this is what we're seeing on camera. Imagine what it's like off camera on a day-to-day basis. Alan and Jen then sort the £1,000 check and they're just about to give it to David, but at the last minute, Daniel's girlfriend comes and snatches it out of his hands.
They're just fucked up people.
You know what I'm on, son?
Jesus Christ. What?
Genuinely. This place, there's not one person here who is leading this place. It's literally just like a Royal Rumble. She just came in and went, I'll be having that, thank you very much. Like, what is this place? In my opinion, like, we've covered Amy's Baking Company, and that was, like, funny because the two owners were just mental. However, like, the staff, they were really great, and, you know, the cakes were nice, although the two owners were terrible. This place, everyone is terrible, and the food's terrible, and there's no organised... I don't understand how this place is still, like, running. In my opinion, this is so much worse than Amy's. They both then chase Daniel's girlfriend into the office, and, like, what comes next is just so weird.
It's not your choice.
Alan, please don't yell at a girl.
I love it.
Like, Jen's the only one here that's acting like an adult. She's just trying to sort it out. Like, Mary is kind of just acting a bit childish. I know, like, her intentions are good. She doesn't want them to take any more money away from her partner. She's sticking up for him. But she's just acting like a child, saying, I love it, and then antagonising Alan. And then the way Alan's speaking to her, like, he's just speaking to her so degradingly. Chef David then finally gets his check, and before he leaves, he can't help himself but do one more jab towards Jen.
And David, for the record, I'm not on Prozac, dear.
You should be.
Honestly, I feel like, at this point, it seems like it can't get any worse, but I feel like David leaving could possibly be a positive thing because it's a little bit of a fresh start and Gordon can kind of promote one of the current staff to his position, because David was never going to salvage his relationship with these two ever. Genuinely, I can't believe what I've just witnessed there. Like, if they tried to script this show, they couldn't make it more entertaining and wild than what that was. And although I do think it is good that David has left, I have zero hope that Gordon can turn this restaurant round by the end. I guess we're just gonna have to see. And all of this is just too much for Daniel. Like, he breaks down mid-shift.
We're going under. I can't do this. Oh, man.
I feel so sorry for Daniel because he's just been put into this position by his parents, like, not by choice. He literally just wants to have the money that, like, is his. And he's trying his best. He's got no experience in this sector, but he's just trying to use his people skills and just trying to really put all his energy into making this a success. And this is just dying no matter what he does. Now, usually the structure of Kitchen Nightmares episodes is they have all the really bad stuff at the beginning. The midway, they kind of change everything. And at the end, they try and make it, like, end on a high note where the business is in a good position. However, because the Burger Kitchen is in such dire straits, they've had to separate this episode into two parts, 2 1-long-hour episodes each. They very rarely do this in Kitchen Nightmares history, and it just means it's one of the iconic episodes. So let's get straight into part 2. Let's see if Gordon can actually turn the Burger Kitchen around. I am not hopeful. So part 2 starts off where we left off, with Daniel crying outside with Gordon.
I've never seen such a fragmented business. My God.
It's the fact that Daniel is in this position where he's getting threatened to get beat up, and he didn't even want to be in this situation in the first place. Like, even when he's at his lowest, still, somehow there's another low to go. And Gordon says to him that he's never been to a worse restaurant in his entire life, which obviously is a nice thing to hear when you're currently breaking down. But one thing it does mean is hopefully it can't get any worse, okay? The only way is up. And you can also tell Gordon's demeanour with Daniel. He's a lot more empathetic than he is with other people because he knows that he's kind of just been thrusted into this position. And also with Daniel, he's one of the only people that shows real emotion. Like, he's one of the people that actually wants to change this business. They're not just stuck in their ego. And if there's going to be one person that actually will drive change within this entire company, it's going to be Daniel. So Gordon gives him like a pep talk, trying to get him motivated to like stand up for himself and change this business around. And it seems to work. Gordon then takes the entire staff to a theatre where he gets all of the conspiracied Yelp reviewers to say their reviews in public to their faces.
We're all real. All of our reviews mean something. It's feedback for you to use however you'd like.
Look at his face. Genuinely, if he had one of these right now, it'd be a bloodbath. I've got to bring that up in every video, guys. I've got to show people I'm hard. I've got a very fragile ego, okay? It's just so funny watching these Yelp reviewers do their review one by one.
And I wanted to love your burger so bad. Like, I love burgers. And I didn't.
Do you know, before getting into this, I didn't know what a Yelp reviewer would look like, but if I could imagine them, they would look like this. I can't put my finger on why, but they just give off the vibe.
I absolutely detest what's served at your restaurant.
Sorry, if I opened a restaurant and somebody in front of us went, I absolutely detest what you serve at this restaurant, like, how do you actually combat that? genuinely, you wouldn't hear from me again. I'd change my number and move state.
I'm not like an avid Yelper. In fact, I created the account just to comment on your place because that burger was so disappointing.
What? The dedication to the hate brigade. I love it. I don't even have an account, but I made one just to tell you how bad your burger was. I've got to rate it, right? Built different. I love that. The dedication to rain shit on someone? Oh my lord.
I too signed up for Yelp just to write a review, and it was the one and only Yelp review we have ever written.
Sounds a little bit like a conspiracy to me. Yelp recruiting people to plot against we. Their only review. This has just amplified my suspicions.
I wrote my review on Yelp only to be met with sort of a barrage of emails from you. At one point you threatened to...
She's yawning in her face, man. Oh my god. Wait, can I just be a little bit like... on the other side of the fence here? If I had a business and people were leaving like really negative reviews on Yelp and then they like turned up when Gordon had asked them and saying it to me face, I probably would also yawn in the face. I'm like, I just don't want to hear from you, love. I'm okay. That's like the toxic side of us. It's like the dedication to hate on us. Even though I wouldn't get myself into this position where I'm serving absolute crap to the public and not realising that I'm the issue here, I just find this so hilarious, this concept. It's like a roast session that they haven't asked for. By the way, guys, just quickly, please do press the like button. Otherwise, I will get Gordon Ramsay to turn up at your door and ask you why you haven't done so.
Jen, am I keeping you up, darling? Would you like a blanket?
I think Jen is at the point where she's like, look, I know it's like utter crap. I know what we're doing here. It's just terrible. Can you just help me fix it? I just don't want to be here right now. This is like probably the lowest moment of my life. But Gordon needs to do this to really kind of cement in their minds that they need to change. Like, they are the issues here. It is not the chefs. It is not the waiting staff. It is not anything else. It's them. They need to change their way of thinking. Alan then just can't take it anymore.
This is what's driving me nuts.
Enough. This is ridiculous.
I'm trying to be empathetic here. Obviously, these people have been to this restaurant and they've had like a horrific experience. The burger wasn't nice, okay, but somebody is crying. One of the Yelp reviewers is crying, specifically the woman that said she loves burgers. I don't know if this is because, like, you know, our whole world is crumbling here because she's realised that not all burgers are great. I don't know why she's actually crying, but come on. I'm being a bit harsh here on that. I realise that obviously this is an emotional thing, right? You know, you're very passionate about your food reviews. Someone's, you know, really combating your food review and you just can't take it. Okay, I get it. It just seems like wherever Alan is, there's just destruction and people just can't stand him. Gordon then also gets the head chef of a really successful LA restaurant to basically tell them that they have to take criticism on the chin. They can't like combat it with hate. And that's totally right. Like, if 17 people are saying that your burgers aren't nice, they're probably not nice. If it was one person or two people, you can kind of put that down to people having different tastes. But when everyone is saying the same thing, you probably need to listen. Like, if all of yous were saying, come on, like, your jokes are literally on the floor right now. They're terrible. And I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know comedy. Then nothing gets better. Please don't comment that, right? If anyone comments that now, I will find you. I won't. Okay, I don't have a specific set of skills, but just know it'll not make us very happy. Moving on. After the successful head chef says this is like the final nail in the coffin where we actually see Alan take some responsibility.
The only thing I ever get wrong on is I don't like unfairness. I was focused on that wrongly, and I apologize.
Way! Finally! Our first apology! We're only an hour into the footage of this show. Thank the Lord. We've broke down one wall. I don't even know if you can call it a wall. We've maybe stepped over a brick. But it's still one brick that we weren't past before. They all then return to the restaurant and Gordon sits down with the staff to iron out everyone's responsibilities moving forward. And the topic of how Alan stole the 250k away from Daniel gets brought up.
You put in 250,000.
Dad, I never put 250,000 into this.
Okay, let me rephrase that then. I put in 250,000. I stole 250,000 from you. Is that better for you? Tomato. Okay, same thing. We both end up on $500,000 in total. Quit your whining with your funny little hat on, Daniel. If you take it off, maybe I'd respect you more.
Danny is getting taken advantage of and he's being worked his ass off.
Excuse me, Wendy, you don't have a right to be cruel.
One thing I have noted throughout this entire documentary of the Burger Kitchen is Wendy, who I think I've been called a Mary because I don't know what, I get get Wendy and Mary mixed up all the time. Anyway, Wendy always has the back of Daniel, whereas Jen has said that Alan doesn't have her back a lot of the time. And it is really nice to see, like, Wendy sticking up for her partner, because no one else is sticking up for Daniel, and he's kind of getting walked all over here. And I think the reason why both Jen and Alan hate Wendy is because she's actually, like, fighting back against them. She doesn't just take the shit, she actually, like, combats their points. And she doesn't let them just steal more money away from their son.
I'm tired of this
What, are you a rude person constantly?
Shut up, Alan. Let Wendy talk her shit. Be quiet. Fingers on lips right now, Alan. Wendy then says that both Alan and Jen are actually taking money out the business for themselves when Daniel is receiving no money at all.
He doesn't.
Wendy,
There's no cash in the cash register.
What do I get paid? Name it. Prove it. You've got 160,000 in the fucking bank.
From that reaction and how aggressive Alan got, that says to me that he definitely has been paying himself. Like, why would you punch the table so much? Like, if this really was a lie, you'd just be like, that's a lie. Like, why are you lying for? I can prove that I haven't done this. But this seems like he's getting found out a little bit.
Wendy, why are you so nasty?
Like, that's a classic manipulation tactic from Jen. She's saying, Wendy, why are you always nasty? And Alan keeps saying, are you always this disturbing? It's like she's not. She's just saying that my partner is not getting paid for the same work that you guys are doing when you are getting paid. She hasn't been nasty in this exchange whatsoever. She hasn't called you any names. She's just stating what she believes are facts. Now, the next clip that we're about to see actually made me tear up when I seen this for the first time, as Daniel opens up to his parents about how much they've basically ruined his life, like thrusting him into this situation he didn't want to be in.
What you have to admit is that what you did was wrong. What you did was really, really wrong.
Danny.
No, shut up! Shut up!
Like, you can see from his mother instantly, like, his mother watching, like, her own son break down because of something she's done, she instantly, like, teared up, and that's the first time we've really seen Jen, like, actually tear up. Like, she's been angry. Mostly she's kind of just, like, seemed like nothing phases her a lot of the time, but this is enough to make her break down like it would for, you know, any parent.
All three of you on the side are just killing me, man. You're fucking killing me. I'm asking for, like, a week. A day.
This is actually so sad. This is a real person, and he's only got 3 people in his life, and they all, like, seem to hate each other, and he's only asking for one day where they just act like a normal family. Like, this young lad's life has been teared apart by his parents' actions to steal from him, and throughout this episode, like, all he's did is just try to make their business a success. Like, it's their business, it's not his business, because his name's not even on the bloody, like, company's house. And I think this is a common case that a lot of young people go through, where they end up parenting their parents a lot of the time. I know a few people watching this, you probably have experienced this. As a child, you think your parents know everything. You think your parents are like superheroes. They're these, like, invincible figures that just know everything and can sort all of your issues out. But as you grow older and you become an adult yourself and you understand the world more, you realise that actually these people aren't invincible, and these people are just kind of working it out like you're working it out. Like, these people were once children and now they're adults, and they're flawed, and they don't know everything, and they make wrong decisions. And unfortunately, during this process, if you find out that your parents aren't, you know, nice people, like what Daniel's finding out right now, this can kind of like tear apart your entire reality and your entire perspective on things, because you've basically adapted your entire personality because of the things your parents have told you. Like, you're 50% of both of these people, so that's going to bring into question whether your morals and your beliefs are the right thing for the world, whether you're a bad person, because surely if your parents are a bad person, you've got to have brought something from them. It's almost like everything you've ever known is come into question, which is like a hell of a stressful period for anyone to go through, especially with Daniel having to deal with all this stress from the business as well on top of that. It's a really hard truth to swallow, especially for Daniel, and I wonder that, you know, by the end of this episode, if he does leave the restaurant for good, if he will actually grow as a person, because he'll be spending less time with these parents. He'll kind of form his own beliefs, become his own person in his own right with his girlfriend, and then he may not even keep in touch with his parents because he feels like he's grown so much as a person that he doesn't even see himself in those people anymore. I just think this is a really overwhelming experience for Daniel, and I can really see this from his point of view, and I just feel so sorry for him, and that's why the first time I saw this I cried. What's even more disturbing is that even after Daniel opens up like this, he literally puts his heart on the table, his parents still can't put their egos aside.
I can't get along with her.
You can't get along with it.
No. I can't.
Your son's just said he's depressed, okay? Your son said that he can't be happy for one day in his entire life, and you won't even try to get on with the person that he loves most in the world. Why? Why would you not even try? Are you so self-centered, so selfish, so, like, encapsulated by your ego that you can't even try? If you try and you fail, that's fine. But not even trying? This is so frustrating to watch. Gordon then says that he stayed up until 4 a.m. to read Alan's book he handed him, and he says there's so many similarities in his relationship with his dad to Alan's relationship with Daniel.
He hated being called out on his behaviour, especially by his son. Does it sound familiar?
Yes.
Genuinely, this is almost like Daniel has wrote this. The similarities are just so wild. I can't believe that Alan hasn't attempted to break the cycle here. He's passed this on to his next generation. Like, hopefully this makes him realise that all of the emotions he feels about his dad, all of these negative emotions that made him literally write a book about his dad, is what Daniel feels about him. And the moment he realises that, is going to be such a realisation period for him. And I imagine he's going to feel so terrible.
The way you describe your father, it's exactly the way Daniel would describe you.
And this is so sad even for Alan, because Alan has experienced all of the emotions that Daniel's currently going through, and these have just really tore him apart as a person, and he has just became this, like, really nasty person that just uses everyone for his own gain. And I hope that Daniel can kind of now break the cycle and not pass this on to his own children, because this is not a good place to be in.
I see exactly what Chef Ramsay has brought up. I mean it, and I apologize to both of you.
This is so good. See, this is the start of change, okay? Now we're not fighting amongst each other. One thing I need to note as well is Gordon Ramsay, like, I know he has all of these expertise with restaurant ownership and management, and he knows how to make amazing food, but the one thing that I think he has more than anything is empathy and how to see things from other people's point of views. His people skills are insane. Genuinely, I think if you got the best chef in the world, somebody that is 10 times better than Gordon Ramsay at cooking dishes and managing restaurants, if that person exists, I don't think they could help these people as much as what Gordon does. Like, genuinely, he is so good with making people realise when they're in the wrong. Now, even though this is a really monumental day in their family relationships, I'm still not convinced Jen is on board, because she still says that she's not going to try and get on with Wendy, which I still feel is really weird. However, moving forward, Gordon then promotes the former assistant head chef as now the head chef, and he teaches him how to make the perfect burger, and then all of the staff try it and they say it's like the best burger they've ever had. They then move forward to the evening service and they serve this new burger, and all of the customers love it. However, they're still complaining about the old dishes that they're ordering, the stuff that was previously on the menu that Gordon hasn't fixed yet. Then the morning after this, Gordon invites all of the staff to the restaurant as he's given it a huge makeover. Now, this is one of my favourite parts of Kitchen Nightmares, because the fact Gordon and his team do this completely free of charge just to help the business is such a nice gesture. They always make it look so much better and so much more inviting for the customer. He's also purchased a new ticketing service which will make, like, how they take orders so much better and easier, because this was the main issue why orders were, like, being so slow to get out and getting mixed up and getting lost. Like, they were writing them down on big A4 pieces of paper before this. Now they've got it all electronically done. It's just kind of creating better structures and creating less stress for them, one less thing to worry about. Gordon then takes all of the staff through the entire redesigned menu and they all love it. The show then jumps straight to relaunch night, where they've got the brand new setup of how the restaurant looks, the brand new menu, and also Gordon has invited loads of food critics and loads of Yelpers to try the food, which I bet Alan's buzzing about. But it's the perfect way to kind of relaunch this business into the community and tell everyone, look, we're not shit anymore. Now, Daniel is fully in charge at this point, and he strictly says to his dad, you are to go nowhere but stay behind the bar. I don't want you bothering customers. I don't want you getting your stanky breath all over the food. I don't want you coming in the kitchen and making everything a stress. Just stay specifically at the bar, okay? Just putting that out there before we get into this service, because do you think he's going to listen? Do you? I guess we'll see. Now, the service starts amazing. The new ticketing service is really like improving the way that the waiting staff are taking the orders. Food is going out on time and the critics are really complimenting the new menu. So everything's going like so well. Like at this point, I'm like, oh my God, somehow Gordon has worked his magic. David Blaine, the magician, has left and the real magician has came. Also, just before we move on, I think that's really telling that they didn't invite Chef David back into the restaurant. A lot of the time with Kitchen Nightmares episodes, when a chef gets sacked, they often convince them to come back. They did no convincing with David, so that tells me that Gordon didn't think that he could actually improve them, which I just think is interesting. Like, Gordon very much bases his entire structure on having no toxicity, and clearly he thought that David was toxic. Even if he could cook the best burger out of everyone, it's just not worth like one bad egg ruining everything for everyone. Now back to the service, everything is going great midway through until this.
Alan has left his post at the bar and is back where he is not wanted.
Just stay at the fucking bar! Why can't you just listen? Everything's going so well. This is so infuriating. The amount of stress we've been through to get to this point, and all you need to do is just stay at the bar, and you can't do it. Why? I'm on me fucking knees, Alan. Alan, stay at the fucking bar. Oh my God. This is like watching a pantomime where you know that something's gonna go wrong. He's behind you. Just fucking listen, he's behind you. Oh, no, I was rooting here. I know this is going to be the start of the downfall of tonight's service.
Daniel wanted me just behind the bar. The bottom line is, you can't stop me going to mingle with the customers. How's everything out here? Okay?
Why? The customers don't need any more mingling. They don't want to speak to you. Your breath's stanky. The last thing someone wants when they're eating a beef burger is a side of absolute stench. Oh my God, it's so infuriating. Can't you see everything's going well? Maybe that's why, actually, like when I'm actually deep in this. From his perspective, I think he feels disposable now. And the one thing with Alan is he wants to be front of centre of everything. He wants credit for everything. We saw that when he made his own burger and tried to outdo Chef David. He can't take that he is not part of the success of this business now, and I feel like that's going to be the downfall of the Burger Kitchen if it doesn't become a success.
Dad. Behind the bar, please.
Now, I don't actually think that, you know, he doesn't need to stay behind the bar at all times. Like, you know, asking people if they're enjoying the food, being friendly, like being warm and, you know, really building a relationship with reoccurring customers, that can only be a positive thing. But when you're staying at a table for like 10 minutes, the customers don't want that. Like, unless you're their friend, like outside of the business, they don't want to speak to you for that long.
Alan was bothering tables and he gets in the way and it's too much.
You behind the bar. Behind the bar.
Fuck off, Alan! Alan, fuck off! Alan, get out! Get out, Alan! I'm sick of him! Just leave, please, please. We're doing this for you. We're trying to make the money back for you. Just get out the way, man. Oh, God. There's a point where he tells one of the servers that he's going to the wrong table when in reality he was actually going to the right table.
You sure 31?
That's 31 there with the 4 gentlemen.
I'm going to have a fit. Just get out the way. Everything's fine. Just leave, Alan. Fucking Alan. Oh, my God. It's stressing us out, and this was filmed, like, what was it, over 10 years ago, and I'm still so, like, agitated by this. I'm convinced that this business will never succeed as long as Alan has a hands-on approach to it. Because Daniel is having to take his attention away from managing the kitchen to sort his dad out, now orders are starting to go out which aren't that good. There's no quality control from Daniel, so some of the orders are, like, cold, some of them are more raw than they should be, and it just messes everything up because his dad just couldn't keep out the way.
Do to us. It's raw. Fuck.
Like, why is he lingering? Fuck off! Just fuck off! Someone needs to make that into a meme. I'm getting so annoyed here, man. The service then finishes and all of the staff talk about how it went. They basically say overall they were really happy with it. However, if this business is going to succeed, Daniel needs to be the one in charge and the other two owners need to get out his way.
We cannot afford to go back to our old ways.
Now, Alan doesn't really compute with what Gordon's saying. He doesn't really agree with anything. He just kind of shrugs his shoulders. However, Jen really agrees that Daniel can really make this place a success if they let him. So now Jen's on board, but it doesn't seem like Alan is. It just seems like they take turns in kind of trying to make this place an absolute train wreck. Gordon then asks if he can have a one-on-one personal deep chat with Daniel, and it actually is really deep.
My father died at 53. You may never forget what he did to you, but you have to forgive him, and you have to move on. I believe in you.
Wow.
Bro, I'm gonna start crying here. Oh my god, what? That was so nice. The fact Gordon opened up about his own experiences, and the first time that Daniel's ever heard someone say I believe in you. He was like, wow, this is all I've needed to hear in my entire life. And I really like how he dropped that kind of wisdom on him. He was like, look, you're never gonna forget what your dad's done to you and how he's kind of left you in the shit here, but you've got to forgive him because at the end of the day you only get one mom and you only get one dad. And it's just such a nice truth bomb to kind of drop in the episode because it adds just so much more depth to these episodes. It's kind of made me just kind of think about my own situations, about how, this is I'm gonna start crying, what's going on? The show then documents a short update of how the Burger Kitchen is getting on, and they're doing really well. It's really successful. There's a lot of customers coming in.
The Burger Kitchen is generating a ton of positive buzz in the neighborhood as the go-to place for an awesome burger.
Now that's really good to see because even 3/4 into this entire documentary on the Burger Kitchen, I didn't believe it was going to become a success. I genuinely thought they were done for. So the fact that Daniel and the fire inside of him has really turned this place around is so amazing, and he's going to have so much accomplishment because of that at this point. However, I know you will want a current update about where this restaurant is today. Now, I've done so much research into a lot of people who appeared in this documentary, so here it is. Now, unfortunately, in February 2012, the Bar Kitchen actually did close down for good. This apparently was only a few months after the second episode had finished filming, which is so sad that it had such a drastic downfall. It doesn't say the reason why the business failed, but I can only imagine that the relationship between the family turned sour and it just went back to how it was prior. It must have been so hard for Daniel to kind of stamp his authority further when Gordon's not there to back him up. Now, I researched this for hours and found one piece of information where Daniel had filed a lawsuit against his father. It says here that he's suing him for a breach of contract. Obviously, it's very vague, so I can't really figure out what this breach of contract was. Maybe it was because his name was never on the restaurant and maybe they tried to sell the restaurant. I have no idea. I'm just kind of theorizing here. But clearly, Daniel has not repaired the relationship with his dad even after that chat with Gordon. Now, I thought this would be the most mental piece of information that I would find, but how wrong was I? When researching where Alan is today, I actually found out that he has ties to the Australian mafia, which is just wild. I just did not expect this at all. When he said he was a meat curator, maybe he was talking about human meat, He knows how to put that in different positions after he blows them off. Alan was actually the son of a man called Abe Saffron. Obviously, he's called Alan Saffron. Now, you might be wondering, who is Abe Saffron? Abraham Saffron was one of the most powerful and successful of Sydney's crime bosses, and also the most unusual. He was a key underworld figure in the corruption of politicians and police for a period of several decades. This man was a real bad person in Australia. He was so bad that they actually made a movie of his life. It was called Mr. Sin. How bad do you need to be where people are like, you know what, we can actually turn this into a full-fledged feature film. And that's why there was so much money from this trust fund from the grandfather. There was £250,000. I was wondering, what is the job of this grandfather? This was the job. This is why Daniel had so much money waiting for him. Now, I did find an article in the Daily Telegraph which said son Alan is after Abe Saffron's millions. This was in 2011, so this would have been around the time that the restaurant was struggling. Underworld identity: Abe Saffron has been dead for 5 years, but a dispute has erupted over the right to $8 million in assets the executors of his estate didn't know about at the time of his death. His son Alan Saffron has told the Supreme Court that he deserves a share of the recently discovered assets from his late father's illegal gambling, sex and sly grog empire. So clearly Alan really wanted this money. Obviously he needed the money for his business at the time, and it's wild to me that, you know, he knew that he was still entitled to this amount of money and he still chose to steal the money off his son. Like this, what does this say about Alan as a person? Here's a photo of Alan with his dad, the crime boss. Like, this is just wild how I've managed to find all of this. Also, if you do want to purchase this photo, you can pay 275 quid if you really like this video. I don't get any money for suggesting that. However, I do wish I had an affiliate link. And the book that Alan handed to Gordon, you can actually buy that as well. It only has 2.48 out of 5 on Goodreads, so I don't know how good the book is. But it's just wild how there's so much lore to this episode, and that's why I really wanted to cover it, because this is more than just a singular Kitchen Nightmares episode. Honestly, I think this is one of the most interesting episodes ever of any TV show ever, because of how deep it runs and how we can kind of decipher why the people in this specific Kitchen Nightmares episode were why they were. The fact that Alan has such messed up morals has clearly come from being around his dad, who, you know, was involved in so many messed up things. And this is why I have a little bit more sympathy for Alan, because clearly he's grew up in a really toxic environment and that shaped the person he's become today. And it's just such a shame that he couldn't break the cycle and he's passed this on to his son and made his son have trauma because of this. Now, despite trying to get all of this money, Alan actually passed away in 2020. Unfortunately, he was 71 when he died, and it says here that he actually turned into a talent manager and he was involved in the Saw movie franchise becoming a thing, which, like, how many lives has this guy lived? He actually won the prestigious Talent Manager of the Year award in Los Angeles, so clearly this guy somehow turned his life around. Now, I couldn't find much on Daniel, but one thing I did find out is that he did in fact marry Wendy, so clearly they were like a great partnership and they actually have a child together, which is just really nice to see. If there's anyone in this episode that I hope is doing well after this, it is Daniel, because he really deserves to be happy. And I also found out some information about Chef David Blaine. Unfortunately, he didn't decide to get into magic like his namesake did. He went on to work for other restaurants. I found this like Facebook event that he had saying Chef's Dinner David Blaine, where like he made his entire like bespoke menu for a lot of people to try. And then I believe he got a full-time job at the Mission Inn in Riverside, according to his LinkedIn. So clearly he found a job where he was getting paid for what he's doing, which, you know, he did deserve. And hopefully, you know, if he could go back, he probably wouldn't say the same things about these people as he did. But I can imagine, like I said at the time, he was just so filled with hatred for these people. But yeah, that took me like a few hours of research to find these things, because these weren't easy things to find. I hope you enjoyed this video. I really love doing Kitchen Nightmares episodes because they're just so deep and like they have so much lore to them, a lot of them. If you do want to watch my previous video on the most notorious episode of Kitchen Nightmares episode, Amy's Baking Company, go and do that, because that was a two-parter as well, which is absolutely crazy. And yeah, thank you very much for dedicating the time to watch this, Donuts. I really appreciate it, as always. Thank you so much for just, you know, taking time out your day to support what I do. Honestly, it means the world to us. So thank you very much, and I will see you in the next one.